Hey guys, this is Nate and this is the Nater channel. Today I'm going to talk about my tablet and how I have it mounted on the wall, as well as how I give it constant power and where that power comes from. So I'll kind of walk you step by step here, up here and then down in the utility room where it actually gets the power. So this is an Amazon Fire 8 tablet, and I use it for my smart home stuff, and it also controls my alarm system. And this is just a 3D printed case. Now this one I actually bought off like a Facebook group where there's a guy that was printing them out. This was several years ago, but there's lots of options out there, both kind of commercial available ones, as well as people that will 3D print them. And it wasn't super cheap. I think it was probably like 20 bucks I had to pay, including shipping and tax and everything. But it also came with a little low profile USB charging cable, so I'll show you that in a second. And I won't go into details exactly of what all I have going on for this tablet. It is like I said, Amazon Fire, so it's Android based, and then I use Fully Kiosk browser to show this setup, and this is Action Tiles. I have another video that goes in more detail there, but for this now what I'll show you is taking this case off the wall, how I have it mounted, and how I have the power get to it. Alright, so this is where the original alarm panel was, and I use that same area because the wires already ran to it. So in this case I was lucky in that the house already had wiring ran to here. That's why I picked this spot. As well as any other house that has alarm panels. They're typically in places that are like in the master bedroom or by the master bedroom and then at your main entrance. So they're typically a good place to use, and that wiring is already built in here. So let me pop this off the two little bolts here, and you can see this setup. So obviously this is where the old alarm panel was. I did cut the hole in here to add in this electrical junction box because it just had the wires sticking out and going straight into the alarm panel. So for this one, alarms typically have I think it's 22 gauge wire that's ran to the sensors, and so that is on the small side for sure. But if you have a small tablet like this, they're charging I think it's about a 10 watt charger. Typically it's 5 amps at 5 volts at 2 amps. The fast charger are like 2.4 amps, but they don't need that much power to stay charged. So this guy always stays charged 100%, so it's really not taking a lot of load. This adapter then takes it from 12 volts down to 5 volts that it needs to charge. And you do want to make sure this is size, this is a 15 watt capable one, so obviously you want it to be rated higher than the max you think this can take. All right, so for the wiring, the way that power works and the way the wires are sized is by the amps, so the amount of current that runs through them. So for a given power, which we have this, let's call it the 10 watts of power, if we run 5 volts all the way from the utility room up to here, it's going to have to run the higher amps, and that makes the wires hotter and you need a bigger wire size and whatnot. So if you run 12 volts up to here and then put the adapter right at the tablet, the 5 volts is only running a short distance. And so that's really what you want to do. You want to run the 12 volts, or if your system is 24 or whatever, run the higher voltage until you get right up to the tablet, and then you're not stressing the wires out as much. So for this one, this also has this really nice thin ribbon cable, and it has this little tiny 90-degree connector that hops into that USB port, and that allows us to lay flat on the wall. So I have to do a little bit of finessing to get it all to fit in this little junction box. There's also a little piezo buzzer in here as well that I have, but basically I just fold this stuff up and keep it nice and neat and tight into there. It takes a little bit of work, like I said, because there is a lot of wiring here. And then obviously it's just held in with these these two little drywall screws and you know, the little keyhole type connectors on there. So once I get this all folded up in there, I can slide it onto these screws. And then it clips down there. So that's all set, and I like that. Like, again, I have it up there at the I have two of these tablets. But let's go down to the utility room and see how I get power to the wires to get them up here. All right, so down here in this utility area, we have my main power as well as the alarm panel area. And so inside here, other than the bird nest of wires that's in here, we have these little connected panels there, and so those are my like alarm panels that take in all the sensor inputs. That's a kind of a whole separate topic, and you know, they have 12-volt power supply to them, and then as part of this system I have a little lithium-ion backup battery pack. So previously the whole alarm panel was powered through this system, and so I did want to use the wiring that was already there, but I did not want to, you know, use up power from the backup battery in case of a power outage, because the tablets already have a battery in them. So what I did is I ran power from this adapter. So this is a 120 volt to 12 volt adapter. That's like a 30 watt one, so it's you know, enough to cover all of the power needs. And then I split it, so one of the splits goes to the battery pack, and then from the battery pack up to the alarm, and then the other one goes to right here. And these red and black wires are the ones that go to the tablets, and there's two reds and two blacks because it's two tablet locations up there, so that wiring is split. But you know, this is fairly typical, I think, of a alarm panel, including the mess that a lot of installers seem to do, although I'll take blame for not cleaning it up when I converted it over to this DIY solution. But if you want to check to see and make sure that your wiring is capable of the power, there's some if you just Google something like wire size calculator or voltage drop calculator, it will let you put in, you know, if you're going to run 12 volts to it, roughly how many feet is that run, and then how many amps you need. So you know, depending on how many devices you're going to have on it, you can determine the correct wire size to make sure that you don't overload it. But you know, in my case, I have the upstairs tablet is 3 floors up from this, because this is in the basement, so I guess it's, you know, 2 floors higher, I guess you'd call it. But so it's a decent run, and I certainly have no problem powering up an Amazon Fire 8 tablet. So I think for most users it's probably capable as it is. But if you don't have that as an option, or you don't want to use it, let's go back upstairs and talk about some of the other ways you could get power to a wall mounted tablet. One other thing to make note, you know, if you don't have alarm wiring or some other way to get power, but you have either an outlet in there, or you have 120 volt wiring that you can tap into, they do make their sunken in outlets, basically. So the outlet would have a recess into the wall, and then you could plug in a small 120 volt to 5 volt adapter, and you could get power that way. So that's how I've seen some people do it as well, and that certainly could actually be easier in some instances, rather than actually trying to run wiring from a basement or utility room to where you need it in the wall. So that's the other option. As far as the, you know, tablets themselves, you can obviously have, you know, lots of different setups, different brands, iPads or Androids or whatnot. Some people even put TVs up there, so all that's available, and you can get your own mount and whatnot. So this is how I've done it. Obviously there's lots of different ways to do it. I've been happy with this. I've had this, I think, 3 or so years, so I haven't had any problems with the Amazon Fire leaving it plugged in. That's a common question, and it's kind of a concern of mine as well, but I've had no problem. It stays at 100% charge all of the time, right there. And power goes out, it just runs off the battery and seems to be okay. So that's how I do my tablet setup. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. That way you get notified of new videos.